Welcome to the TIMFD podcast. Today is my favorite day is about appreciating every day as it comes, no matter what life throws at us. We hope that this podcast speaks to you, and if it does, please like, share, and comment. Now let's find out why today is our favorite day this week.
Well, welcome back to Today is My Favorite Day. I'm here with David Towner.
Hello.
How you doing, Dave? We're going to talk a little more politics.
Okay.
Not really politics, but last time we talked about big government and all the issues that as Christians we should be looking at through a biblical worldview.
Not all the issues, but yes.
Yeah,
six
not
or
all of them.
Six or seven of them. Yeah.
Today we want to really just encourage y'all, get out and vote.
Mm-hmm.
We're in Florida, so if you have not registered by now,
it's too late.
Too late.
In most states, it
is also, right.
Yeah.
And so, however, if you're registered and you're thinking you're going to have an issue getting there on Election Day, you can early vote right now. And all you have to do is go on Google and say,
I want to early vote.
Early voting in Florida, and it'll tell you where to go.
I'm sure you could do that with any state. So bottom line is that we want you guys to vote. We want you to get out there and do that. And if you're watching this and you don't agree with a worldview that we've had and maybe saw it and just want to argue with us, we're not really into arguing.
No.
Our goal is actually to bring people to a place where we can talk about these subjects and not kill each other off, but actually agree to disagree, have good arguments, and then give each other a hug. And that's the idea, but we just haven't been able to do that in our nation.
Yeah.
So it's our hope that we can do that with you guys. And so go out and vote.
Yes, go vote. Now, if you go in Florida, you got to have ID.
Yep. Which I think is a great thing.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to have ID to do just about anything else. So.
Yeah. And it's important because we want to have people who are voting that who live in the country, obviously, who reside in the country and are citizens. And that's kind of the idea is if you're a citizen, you have the right to vote. And so that's a big deal for us. You may disagree with that, but for the two of us, we've talked about this before, you pretty much have to have an ID for everything.
Everything.
And I think personally, and I'd hope you would too, that voting is this important, this valuable, that we should know everyone that's voting, so everyone has a right to and has a voice in that.
Yes, and every person should get a vote. 18 years of age and up.
Happen to be citizens of the United States? Yes, of course.
We it's a funny story. When I turned 18, I had a sister-in-law who turned 21.
Okay.
The year they changed the vote to 18.
Oh, no way.
Oh, my goodness. You not believe how long I heard about that. And but
what was your first election? I know mine was with Ronald Reagan. It was actually in 1980, and it was right after the Jimmy Carter time. And I lived in the United States. Of course, I lived in the United States. I lived in California, in the Bay Area. My dad was a manager of a number of gas stations, so he got to see it firsthand what was happening between 76 and 79, which was it was an oil embargo. You had a lot of stuff going on, lines like crazy for people getting gas. It was nuts.
Yeah.
And I know this because I remember my dad talking about it. He was just going, it was crazy out there constantly. And I remember interest rates being around 18%, to buy a home. It was nuts.
Right, it was crazy.
And then that was my first year to vote. And what's funny, the generation, which would be you guys, a generation prior to me, voted really more on a Democrat worldview.
Yes.
And my generation, who came in during that time, was more on a conservative worldview, a lot of people, and voted. And most of my friends voted for Ronald Reagan. So it doesn't. I'm not saying one way or the other. It's great or good or bad. Just saying that's interesting generation. So what did you guys do?
The generational thing, yeah.
What was your first vote?
So you're making me think now. I don't remember, to be honest with you.
That's funny. That's funny. Okay, I put him on the spot.
So it would have been, I graduated in 1972.
Yeah, that'd be Nixon and Hubert Humphrey.
Yes, Hubert Humphrey.
Yeah, and Nixon won by a huge landslide. Yeah. And we found out what happened with that.
Yeah, we sure did.
Oh,
yes. And you talked about that oil and everything in California. I was there also.
That's right, you were.
San Jose in that area. Right. I managed a business, and there was 2 gas stations out in front of us. And I never waited in line.
That's wild.
Well, the guy in the one station liked Big Macs.
Oh, so you just gave him food? Oh, yeah, I've heard about that.
He would come and get my car and fill it up,
That's hilarious.
So I wouldn't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
The other side to that is we used to right before we moved down there, I would drive that Carquinez Strait area.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you would go in the morning, and there'd be a whole line of ships, and they'd all be sitting what they call high in the water, which means they're offloaded.
Mm-hmm.
And then you come back 12, 14 hours later, and they're all low in the water, which means they're full.
Sure.
And so, but there was a shortage of oil. So anyway, we used to get a kick out of it. So it was pretty crazy. We're kind of off the subject there. But here's the thing. Get out and vote. Regardless of who you're voting for, we believe, Dave and I do, that we look at every issue and every candidate through a biblical worldview. What do they believe on certain topics? Taxes. So in Hillsborough County, there is a proposed amendment to
raise the tax.
That got the transportation tax that got shot down.
Yeah.
So it's on the ballot. I don't know what they're doing to cross it off. Maybe they just want to see where it would land. But there is one to give an extra $50,000 homestead credit to first responders, veterans, and stuff like that. So whatever your view is on that, vote your conscience on that. And then there is an amendment to do away with the Constitutional Review Committee that meets every 10 years. So it sounds like it's just a waste of money anyway, right?
Well, and the key, though, is just, again, to vote. Make sure you vote. Encourage your friends to vote. If they're Democrat, Republican, Independent, get them out to vote. We want everyone's voice to be heard. I believe God's in charge of this whole thing. So I know a lot of people panic if they kind of sit in the same mindset where I do. I can be honest with you guys. I'm a conservative by nature because of my biblical worldview. It kind of goes that direction. I do believe that the church is not doing enough. When I say the church, the overall church body in the United States, we're doing a lot here, but we could do a whole lot more to take care of the folks in this community, but not only just take care of them, but to train them so they don't have to continue to be on a food pantry, line that we have here, and can take on learn financial principles and do those kind of things. I believe the church should be taking on the responsibility of helping mothers in need, and especially single moms that are deciding to keep their children. We talk a big talk about life and the importance of life, but then we don't talk about how we're going to take care of those kids when that happens. So I think that could be a topic down the line. We could bring someone else in for that. But so that all that ties together with our voting. Right.
And I believe all of the Supreme Court judges or just appellate court judges are up for re-election or recertification. And so you have to do your research. You can go on the appeals court website and find out everything you need to know about each one of these judges, everything from, you can find out how they ruled on things. You can find out who appointed them and how long they've been there, and do you want them to stay? Sure. It's an up and down vote, yes or no. Should they be reappointed? And then if no, then I believe that the governor appoints another one to take their place. So, and then obviously you have local elections, and you have statewide offices and national offices that are on the ballot this year for us. And in Hillsborough County, there are a couple of county commissioners who are up. Yep. And so go look at their record. Go look and see what they did during the pandemic. Go look and see how they're voting now as far as our children are concerned, whether they're voting to try and keep the schools shut down some or the face mask or whatever you want to call it. But look at how they vote, and look at it again through a biblical worldview, and are the people who are on, and it doesn't matter if there's an R or D net after their name.
Sometimes they're both the same.
Yeah. And so,
unfortunately.
So please, whatever county you live in, look at the county, because that's where you can really affect change in your home neighborhood. Statewide is the same way. And it's funny, you can talk to candidates and they talk a good story until you start getting to some of the issues we cover last week, like
that's
abortion
why
and things like
you
that.
Focus on the biblical worldview things, and I think that you always have to go to the same ones. Do you consider government to be large or small? Do you consider life valuable or the right for abortion to be more valuable. Biblical marriage. And when it comes to schools, do the parents have the right to lead their children rather than the school people leading their children? Obviously, scripturally, it's the parents are to do that. Do we believe that the rights are from God rather than government? Because if we believe it's from God, these the Bill of Rights we have, if those are from God and it's been given to us, okay, that's great. The government doesn't need to take them away.
That's right.
If the government thinks it's big enough and gives you those rights, then yes, if you want that, then you're saying, I want the government to be my God and to control those rights. So there's a lot of things if you look through a particular lens, then you can make some choices. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't even know what their worldview is.
Right.
It's based off maybe social media, maybe what some teachers told them in school.
And that's scary.
But whatever it is, you got to find out what it is. Right. I remember when I was in school and I was not a believer in Jesus Christ at all. Matter of fact, against my friends that were following Christ, including my brother and sister. And what I did is I was in a biology class, and the biology teacher was going, it's a fact that evolution takes place. I go, well, no, it isn't. That's not a fact. We know that's not a fact. Yeah. Just scientifically, we know it's not a fact. It's a good theory. It's a good idea, but it's not a fact. My dad was involved with the Audubon Society, and he and I would have some of those discussions, but he always believed a creator, some intelligent design. He believed God himself, God, the Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit did this. And because of that, he still struggled with what he saw in his science classes at times, especially with Earth and things like that. So he would say, Dave, I'm more of a day age guy. I believe that each day could be millions of years. And I go, okay, that's cool. It doesn't matter to me. He and I were in agreement that God created, and that was pretty much it. But if we are, let's say, with me, when I was sitting in my classroom with this teacher, I just said, it's a theory. And someone said, well, God created that. And I said, that's a theory. And the person said, no, that's a fact. And I said, well, tell me why it's a fact. Why do you think it's a fact? And so it started a search for me. It took many years. And honestly, I argued with him completely against that. But the more I took the sciences, the more I'm involved with that, especially going through college and graduate school. To see the design of things was a big deal. So for me, my view, your view is going through a biblical worldview that God created, Jesus Christ saves. And that's something that we understand. But if someone else comes from a view of that we're just, we're blobs that happen to turn into this somehow in over years, millions and millions, trillions of years, whatever it is, to become this out of an amoeba, if you will. Great. That's where you believe, got it. And if you believe that we live, die, and there's nothing afterwards, awesome. We can agree to disagree. It's when we start going after each other and killing each other that's a problem. And I'm talking about Christians not listening either. Yes. And that's the problem on both sides. We need to be better listeners. And so, when this vote comes up, when this election comes up, there is going to be a winner and loser in this whole thing.
Absolutely.
And what do we do with that, Sam?
Well, God is in control.
Yes, he is.
And as long as we remember that, and here, I had this crazy friend, and if God is in control, I don't need to vote.
Yeah, no, that's
not the case.
The mind of man plans his ways, but the Lord directs his steps. You have your responsibilities, and God does in control.
I believe we have a total responsibility to vote. And yes, God is in control, and that means we submit to the folks he has allowed to be in charge.
Yeah, so let's say someone gets voted in, people get voted in that aren't in the same biblical worldview as us. We still have to respect them. We still have to pray for them. We pray for President Biden and Vice President Harris, Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House. We pray for her those people on a weekly basis. I don't agree with pretty much anything they stand for, but we're supposed to be praying for their safety. We're praying for God's blessings on them, and also God to move them in a biblical worldview. But we do pray for them. And I think that keeps people from getting more angry with somebody. If you're praying for somebody, it's harder to get really angry at them and mean. And both sides could become that. So as believers, if you're here and you're a believer watching this thing, and the vote comes in and it doesn't fit out the way you like it, you don't need to go out and start just yelling at everybody out there. What we have to do is for one, praise God that He's in charge. Then God, what do you want me to do? You know, we're to fight evil, right? We're supposed to do that, but how does He want us to do that? It's okay to agree to disagree with people, and Lord, how do you want me to do that? And I think that, and when we come out of an election, the other side is if let's say the people we vote for that have the biblical worldview that we have win, sometimes Christians and people on a conservative side will gloat, and just as the other side of maybe a non-biblical worldview that happens to be liberal has a tendency to gloat, and so I think that doesn't help at all either. Not and we need to be able to hear if that happens, hear where people are coming from and their fears, because there's been so much fear stuff going on, that there's going to be a lot of fear on both sides at whatever happens with this election. And so if let's say more of a biblical worldview wins in this election, generally, then there's going to be people on their side that are going to think, by news and everything, they're going to get obliterated. They're going to terrible things are going to happen. All this stuff that we got to be able to help everyone calm down. And on the other side, if a side that's not a biblical worldview wins, well, the world's not coming to an end either. But we need to be able to still stand and stand for our principles and that kind of thing. Yeah, we do always need to stand for our principles. And it is so easy when you win something to gloat. We see it all the time. Football games, basketball games, pride is a huge thing, but also comes before a fall. Yeah, it does. And so when we do find that our candidate, our issues or whatever came out on top, be prepared to be humble in it. And when your friend said, well, I didn't want that to happen. Why? Why did you not want the vote to go that way? And now what can we do to work together? Well, not only that, we can learn from them. We got to figure out. And I'm hoping that if let's say people that I vote for don't win, that people on the other side would be able to hear, why am I concerned, and actually hear it. That's been a problem. These last couple of years. I'm wondering if it was a problem when the president prior to this was on the other side. So I don't know. I know that I listened to people, and we had discussions and good discussions and heated discussions. But in the end, we hugged and we were good and continue to have those. That's okay. It's just hearing people out I just think that we just struggle with that at times. People have a tendency to listen for 17 seconds before they speak up. And that's where the listening is. Listening to your friends and relatives and it is an acquired and practiced skill. And we know just through the ministry, through CR and through things that we do, that we have got to stop and listen to the whole story. Listen to everything that's said. And I think that this is a big issue, especially in politics. There's going to be people who are upset. There's going to be people who say that person didn't really win, and we've had that back and forth and this is not. It's been going on for a while. Yeah, this is not 2020 news. I remember. Well, 2000, I should say. Yeah. And so it's been going on for a while, and on both sides. I think simple marriage counseling stuff can work in this area. Yes, absolutely. Paraphrasing is a thing that I think that's a lost art among our community. To be able to hear someone that has a totally different worldview, hear them, paraphrase back what they said, and ask them, did I get that right? And earn that respect with them. And I think that's what we all need to do. I think that if we could do that, guys, we'll be in a better place. It's called effective listening. Yes. And it's interesting in working with students, some of the worldviews when it comes to, some of them think it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who wins or loses. And maybe it doesn't. But you still have to have an opinion. You still have to do your research. And my hope is that when the students that are under my purview become of age to vote, that they can look at both sides. They're not taught both sides, but when they come to the harbor, they're taught both sides, and be able to look at it and make some good decisions. That also helps you with good, solid life decisions when you have to stop and research things. It's just gotten to a point where I think a lot of folks don't research. So no, they don't. So we are coming to the end of our time here today. Election Day is 5 days away from here. Don't stress over it.
sit down, drink a cup of hot chocolate, do something after
Go and
you've
vote.
gone and vote. Get out and vote. Whatever you do, get out and vote.
And do a lot of praying for yourself, because if you struggle with what you're watching on the news and that kind of stuff and getting too stressed out, you need to be praying for yourself and for the other people around you. And I think that what we need to do is be praying for opportunities of discussions with people who think thoroughly different than us. Not only coming into this election, but especially after it, that my hope is we'll be able to have those kind of discussions and be able to show the love of Christ through those discussions, one way or the other. So I'm hoping that we'll get that opportunity. I know that we're going to make it a big effort here in this church to have people do that, because we don't want people arguing with their family, and we don't want people beating each other up. We want them to be able to hear and go, we agree to disagree. And I also don't want people to be able to do this. We don't talk about politics, money, and what?
Religion.
And religion.
Yeah.
Well, then you're not talking about nothing. So that we don't want that either. We want people talking with each other.
That creates communication issues all the way up and down the line. So until we meet again, this has been David Towner, Sam McEwen. Live intentionally, be very, very blessed.
Vote.
Go out and vote.
Vote.
Thank you for listening to TIMFD, Today is My Favorite Day. Views, comments, and opinions are those of the host and guest alone, and Dave and Sam are solely responsible for the content of this podcast. TIMFD is produced and directed by Alex Korn. Music is composed and performed by Chuck Vaught. Thank you for listening. Have a great day, live intentionally, and be very blessed.